And if you're in the Oval Office today, what would you say to him?
Resign.
That was President Donald Trump's niece, Mary Trump, on ABC News. Now, she was, of course, speaking with George Stephanopoulos about some of the revelations in her new book, not only about Donald Trump himself, but also about the family and how actually pretty dysfunctional they are. So now, Mary, of course, is the only Trump that's been willing to speak out against the president. And as a result, she was temporarily blocked from releasing her new book. So now that led, of course, a New York judge to weigh in on this, to litigate the case, and lift a gag order on her. Now, in his ruling, Judge Hal Greenwald said that the non disclosure agreement Mary Trump signed in 2001 with the Trump family following a financial settlement after her grandfather's death did not cover specifics, and that the eventual prominence of the Trump family could not have been understood at the time of its signing. So here's his quote on that. Too many words with too many meanings. The cost of the litigation that was settled should have been finalized with more specifics, more clarity. If the current situation was even comprehended at the time the agreement was signed. So basically, what he's saying is it was really vague. It didn't say that you couldn't write a book to talk about it, especially after the president, or I should say after one of the members of the family, would somehow fail upwards to become president. We didn't know. We didn't know that was going to happen. And look, some of the stuff that was revealed about Donald Trump, remember, Mary Trump was actually the source of the leaks when it comes to Donald Trump's taxes. And not just Donald Trump's, but also the Trump family. So the Trump family, of course, as she reported, employed tax schemes meant to cheat the government out of revenue. So, of course, we remember from that report where he would basically inflate his assets in order to get more loans from different banks. And then they would also deflate their assets in order to avoid paying excess taxes on those same properties. So that's tax fraud. Clear and simple. Gee, I wonder why the Trumps haven't been punished by doing tax fraud. Oh, right. For one, Democrat Richard Neal had actually stopped Congress from actually being able to get those tax returns at first. And now you have the Supreme Court that has blocked Congress, specifically the House investigators, from being able to access those tax records. Now, at the same time, the District of New York, under Cy Vance, will have access, but that's just in relation, of course, to Stormy Daniels. And so he'll be getting the last 8 years, or a span of 8 years, of tax returns from President Trump, but only in order to look at that case to see whether or not Donald Trump had actually did campaign finance violations. Nothing to do with whether or not the Trumps did tax fraud. So understand that, right? So she revealed that, and now she's revealing other things. For example, how the president cheated on his SATs, how he's basically a fraud. He paid someone literally to take the SATs for him because he was too dumb and too lazy to do it in order to get into Wharton. And so now the White House has so far repudiated the book's claims, of course, as written clearly in the author's own financial self-interest, they said. And so, Mary Trump, she's just cashing in. Probably, yes. That's got to be part of it, right? But not only that, but there is some enmity from Mary Trump because the Trumps originally tried to hold her inheritance, as when her grandfather had died, Fred Trump Sr., he died, and the rest of the family basically fought over who would get his money. They had threatened, Donald Trump himself had threatened to withhold money from Mary Trump's son, who had a disability, or who has a disability, from getting his medical care. They threatened to basically withhold that cash to say, hey, unless you shut up and forfeit part of your inheritance, then we're going to withhold medical coverage from your disabled son. Mary Trump had to sue. Part of that litigation led, of course, to that NDA. So there's that. So now, another thing that was repudiated was the president describing his relationship that he had with his father as, quote, warm, and said that his father was very good to him. This is according to White House spokeswoman Sarah Matthews, and then also said the absurd SAT allegation is completely false. Well, there's one way we could find out. Release the transcripts. Oh, we want to see the Donald Trump's transcripts from college. We want to see his SAT scores. Remember, before you think, oh, hypocritical, right? Well, Donald Trump had also asked for Obama's not only birth certificate, but his college records as well. So totally fair game. I'm just saying. That said, I don't buy it that Fred Trump was a warm person. No, from what I read about him, he was ruthless. He was incredibly racist. And look, as far as Donald Trump's concerned, Donald Trump's been an embarrassment his entire life. How many times has Fred Trump had to bail him out personally because he made terrible investment decisions? Remember, Donald Trump's been bankrupt at least 6 times. So, and every time, I can imagine that conversation being, what did you do this time, you dummy? Oh, I can't believe you would invest in that, you loser. Just quit being such a baby. He's not a super genius. No normal person acts or talks like Donald Trump or calls himself the very stable genius or the best businessman in the world. Donald Trump's such a smart guy. Even talks about himself in the third person. Like, if I heard somebody talking like that, I think they're insane. Want them to be committed. But back to Mary, right? So now she talked about how since Donald Trump had everything basically handed to him and how he has always surrounded himself by yes men, never said no to him. Well, that's why he is one of the reasons he is the way he is. That's why one reason he's so incompetent. And that's why he also never takes responsibility for his actions and how actually dangerous that is. And finally, how unprepared and basically unfit for office Donald Trump is. And I want to show you some of that. Take a look.
You see the president in the Oval Office, and you tell him, don't let them get you down. Did you mean that?
I did, actually. That was 4 months in. He already seemed very strained by the pressures. He'd never been in a situation before where he wasn't entirely protected from criticism or accountability or things like that. And I just remember thinking, he seems tired. He seems like this is not what he signed up for, if he even knows what he signed up for. And I thought his response was actually more enlightening than my statement. And he said, they won't get me. And so far, looks like he's right.
Look, she's right about that. There's no accountability. The buck never stops with Donald Trump. It's always somebody else's fault, right? As for being tired and not, this not being what Donald Trump signed up for, again, I believe it. I believe it. The guy was not prepared for this. Never prepared for this. Not up to the job. Not even interested in doing the job. However, look, okay. I bought into the idea that this was a publicity stunt gone wrong, right? Just a way to, help him with his businesses, right? Get some notoriety, whatever, go and throw some bombs against Republicans and Democrats. Somehow he caught lightning in a bottle. Not sure how it happened. I mean, again, Hillary Clinton was an awful candidate, and so that's probably a big part of it, as I've explained before. But this was never meant to happen, this presidency. The Trump administration again, this was a result of so many different factors that created a perfect storm of how, Donald Trump somebody like Donald Trump could get elected. Faux populism is part of it. He ran on some populist ideas. And so that definitely helped, especially when people were just sick of the establishment at this point. And so that's a big thing. And we can talk about all the different factors that really led to this one time, freak of nature accident of Donald Trump getting elected. But I mean, the decades of anti-intellectualism. Okay, that's the last point that I'm going to put in there. People not believing in facts and science, people worshiping celebrity, all that stuff, right? Whatever. Publicity stunt gone wrong, gone horribly wrong. But Donald Trump, he's got an ego that is just enormous. And his ego wouldn't let him back out, wouldn't let him quit once he started winning. And then he won, and he's like, well, I can't back out now. I would be a baby, a loser, very sad. And so as long as people believe in my excuses, that it's their fault, that it's someone else, that it's the radical left, that it's all this stuff, and has nothing to do with me or any of my failures, well, then I'm good. But that also leads into some of the other theories of maybe it'll get so bad that the possibility that he'll get destroyed in this next election by Joe Biden, of all people, right? Who could have thought that one coming? Because Joe Biden's essentially a crusty ham sandwich. Look, his ego wouldn't be able to handle it. And so that led some credibility to the possibility that he could maybe drop out if it gets that bad. I don't know. But I do know for sure is that if he doesn't take Mary's advice and resign, it's a very good possibility that he is going to get destroyed in November. We'll see what happens. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.